Hey guys, how's it going? Today, I wanted to do a little something different, a little bit of a different format. And for once, I'm actually wearing a hat. So, it's one of those days. Anyways, today, I just wanted to make a little update about Chexy. I made a video about it, kind of going through it. And in that video, I actually made a big mistake. I said that Chexy was accepting MasterCard, and I gave my example was Rogers World Elite MasterCard. Well, now it's not a lie anymore, technically, because as of today, April 1st, Chexy is actually accepting MasterCard. And I feel like it's very important. While there aren't too many MasterCard cards that are that great, again, the Rogers World Elite MasterCard that you can use at Costco and now here as well, if you don't want to pay for Scotiabank Momentum Visa Infinite, you've used up your limit on Scotiabank Momentum Visa Infinite, which I'll talk about in a second. It actually makes it somewhat reasonable. So without further ado, let's start talking about it. Of course, here they have a little calculator, but honestly, I'm not gonna lie, I do prefer using mine. Let me see and so here I'm gonna pull out the calculator really quick just to use it for my own sake. And yeah, let's take a look. So first of all, the limit for Scotiabank Momentum Visa Infinite is 25,000, which means that you can spend the maximum of 22,000, like 2,100, kind of like more or less. Yeah, exactly. You can't even spend 2,100. So, with rent prices inflating all over Canada and you're renting something bigger than a single bedroom, which I think would fit in this, $2,000 a month range for 24,000. If you're looking at actually getting this, my bad. So 2,000 multiplied by 12. So that's kind of, maybe it's 2,050, but that's kind of your limit, right? If you're paying anything more than that. And it's very common in, the metropolitan areas to pay $2,000-$3,000 very easily every month. You're kind of going over the limit. So let's take a look here. So if we do 2,500, you multiply by 12 again, we get $30,000. So first of all, technically it is great because on the $25,000, you are it's paying you Scotiabank Visa Momentum Visa Infinite's paying you 4% minus 1.75. So it's going to be 225%. This is amazing. But if you keep using it for the other 2 months, you actually lose money. So it's going to be this 562 minus, and I'll explain why it's minus. It's minus because then it goes to only earning 1%, and the fee at Chexy is 1.75%. So now you're going to have 5,000 multiply by, okay, this calculator is not very great, unfortunately. But hear me out. It's going to be 567 or so. And let's look how much money we're going to lose. So we're going to multiply. Let's clear everything. This calculator is going to make me lose my mind. It's 5,000 and multiply by 0.75 because we're going to do 1% minus 175. And so it's going to be percent. It's going to be minus $37. So actually for the last 2 months, instead of earning money, which was that $500 that you've earned, you're going to be losing $37. There is absolutely no point in doing that, right? Which is why now you can use, guess what? Rogers World Elite MasterCard. So for the last 2 months, what you can do is you're going to do 5,000 multiply by 3% minus 175%. You're going to multiply by 1.25 is what you have left. An extra $62 instead of losing $37 or however much it was. So let's say roundabout the difference is actually $100. If you just leave the card on file and let it charge for the entire 12 months, you're going to lose $100 because you're going to lose the 37 and miss on this opportunity to earn $62 here. So this is just something to think about. Now with this Rogers World Elite MasterCard, you have that chance. Before that, I'm trying to think what card you could have used to get the points. Potentially Tangerine with their 2%. But then, of course, instead of 125 like we get with Rogers Elite, if you're a Rogers customer, you would actually only get 0.25 and $5,000 if you multiply it by 0.25%, the number is quite measly. At that point, you don't even know. But this setup exactly ends up making you, $100 extra in value for you paying your rent. I think it's absolutely worth it. And of course, before that, you couldn't do it. So in my opinion, that's a really nice setup. And once again, I'm not sure if you want me to go through Chexy again here, but yeah, it allows you to pay your bills. You get charged 175% and it gets sent as an e-transfer bill payment. depending on how you pay your rent usually. Of course, there are also some promos with Aeroplan, I think for setting up a few payments and just having them pay out consistently. Some Amex ones, which actually I haven't looked into just because this setup with Scotiabank Visa Infinite Momentum working so well. But yeah, I think this is a really great update. And if you haven't had a chance to really tailor and maximize your returns prior, perhaps you just had to e-transfer the other two payments manually or use some sort of card that would pay you 2%. As I said, Tangerine, for example. You couldn't have done Tangerine because it's a MasterCard. I'm not sure. I feel like RBC maybe offers some cashback options. But again, I think all cashback options are MasterCard. Maybe a Visa. There are some decent Visa ones, and they actually have a little setup here where you can take a look at how you can pay. I think it just shows you right here. If you learn more about cashback, it usually shows you a list of cards. So let me show you. It's actually a really good. So we'll just do Chexy MasterCards on their own website, and they kind of give you a list already. And of course, Scotiabank Momentum Visa. But there's a couple other ones, as you can see, which is TD Visa, CIBC Visa, and they haven't actually updated it for the MasterCard yet, clearly. But of course, they're not necessarily really great. You can see you learn with rent of $1,600, $4 cashback each month. And here you learn 2,000 points each month, which is $20 essentially for a $600 annual card. So there haven't been any really great options in my opinion. Okay, I see that TD Visa Infinite, I guess, would have been the next best option for you. But anyways, now I have an option to use a free card like Rogers World Elite MasterCard. So, because again, the money you're making on that card, I think we looked and it was about $50, $60, would not cover the annual fee. So unless you use it for something else, it is not going to be worth it, right? So it's very interesting. And sometimes I like looking and thinking about, okay, how much money can I actually make if I'm using it? And I think for the most part, there is not a single card that would actually make it worth it for the small remainder of the rent above, $25,000 for the Scotiabank Momentum Visa Infinite. Of course, there's some tips. Obviously, not very useful in my opinion. Anyways, yeah, hopefully it makes sense. Yeah, just a little update for you guys. I appreciate you watching it. And as I said, it's a little different format just because when you are recording in the proper format, so to say, when I'm standing in front of the camera and not sharing my screen, it's mostly graphics on the screen. It takes a little bit of time to record, edit, create a script for it. So this is something a little bit different, a little bit impromptu, you could say. And I hope you like it. I also have Chexy affiliate link in my description if you want to try it out. But anyways, thank you so much for watching and I'll see you in the next one. Take care, guys.